All right, so we've been moving forward every week trying to resurrect ourselves. We worked on our plan before Easter, how we were going to prepare ourselves. And then since Easter, we've been saying, how will we be different? How will we change who we are? How will we take a different step? And the goal of all of our self-work has been to grow our consciousness, to work on our mind and how our mind is affecting us and making us think of things in ways that we don't need to think of them because they don't support us in our continued growth. We're trying to get to a place of empowerment where our lives are our best experiences, not where it's just this journey of trying to get through one thing after another. And during this process of our own awakening, we need to be willing to stay open-minded. And we also have to be willing to ask ourselves the tough questions, especially in difficult times, because there aren't many tough questions when it's easy. So there are two questions we should always keep in mind. One is, what am I seeing in the people, the situation, and the activities going on? What am I seeing? Is it something that brings me good? Or is it something that makes me feel negative? The second one is, how can I adjust my mindset and operate from the highest level of consciousness? These kind of thoughts remind me of something Unity minister and author Winifred Wilkinson Hausman wrote. The awakening of our own faculty of understanding starts with questioning our old ways of thinking we may have taken for granted, wondering about the way and the truth, desiring to know above all else, desiring to know spiritual truth, not our truth, not what we believe or we think. In every situation we've ever faced, we have all formed an opinion about what's going on. What is happening, how it's affecting us. Yes? Has everybody done that? Every time something happens, what's the first thing that happens to you? What is happening here? Why is that person doing what they're doing? And look at how it's impacting me. I'll give you a perfect example. So I want you to reflect upon a time recently, if possible, when you were disappointed in the way someone treated you. You likely replayed the scene dozens of times in your mind, and you continue to disagree with their perspective and their actions. Anger and frustration soon turn into hurt, and the scene in your mind gets bigger and more powerful. And the narrative you have now created around the scene, along with the emotions, has left you feeling depleted. Anybody had that experience? Okay, so I'm not alone. In these scenarios, the images and the emotions combined have created our own victimization. We feel unloved and or disrespected. However, there's always a however. If we could make a slight adjustment in our own perspective, we may be able to see the person, the situation, and our attachment to it a bit differently. The same components, slightly adjusted, allow us to change our perspective, which is the definition of a kaleidoscope. Now, some of you may remember in 2022 I talked about this, but I'm taking a different approach today on it because I really believe there are pieces we've missed. So the definition says a scene, situation, or experience that keeps changing and has many aspects. Now, if you've never seen a kaleidoscope, I'm just going to remind you that it's this tubular, long cylinder tubular apparatus. It has a viewing lens through a piece of glass at one end. And then at the bottom, it has all these pieces of colored glass. And right inside the bottom of the cylinder, just above where those glass pieces are 3 mirrors. Slightly adjusting that kaleidoscope changes what you see in those glass pieces. One slight turn and the whole image changes. Now just keep that in your mind for a minute. When you're looking through it, the mirrors are what bring the pieces of glass to light. They create these beautiful images, patterns, and colors. And every time you turn it, there's going to be a new pattern. Now I want you to think about your consciousness in the same exact way. All of your experiences in the bottom of that cylinder, up here, attached to each one is some level of emotion that's represented by one piece of glass. So now take the whole collective lifetime of experiences and hurts and frustrations, and they're all there. Each of them represented. Happy, joyful, successful, painful, all in a different color. In the kaleidoscope of our consciousness, our life experience and stories are images in the same way, but they are illuminated only by the light we shine on them. We are the mirror. So when our thoughts look at all those things, we choose which part we're seeing. We don't make adjustments. We're still telling it the same way or thinking of it the same way, remembering it the same way, feeling it the same way. But one slight adjustment and we change the whole experience for ourselves. The light comes from the attention we place on every experience. One small turn in a kaleidoscope, we change the images, the pattern, the colors, the pieces, and the same process occurs in our mind's eye if we're willing to grow and change ourselves. Every time we adjust our thinking, we are rearranging memories, and we're able to perceive them in a different way. And when we don't, we are choosing victimization. That's the facts. We don't change it because we want to see it the way it is because we're so attached. But the truth is, we can change it at any time. Every time we adjust and we rearrange, we're going to have a different perception. The conscious shift we make in shining light on our new way of seeing things we've been through changes the narrative we have attached to it. Each of us has a lifetime of memories to revisit, but in further developing our consciousness, we get to choose which ones to illuminate. So why do we choose to illuminate the worst ones? Is there anybody here who absolutely does not illuminate the negative past? Ever? Okay, so we're all human, right? We all do it. But the problem with it is that we're not seeing it in any different light. We're seeing it the same way. And the problem is we can either accept or change our mind's eye. It's up to us. When we develop this kind of consciousness, it can actually help us every single day. Think about how often we are completely stuck when trying to make a decision or develop a plan. You know how it is? You want to get something figured out, you can't. You keep staring at it and rethinking it and rethinking it. What usually happens, we walk away, we stop thinking about it, and before you know it, boom, lightning bolt. There's the answer. And we come back and it's just that simple. But we can't get out of our own way. That's where the kaleidoscope comes in. Instead of frustrating ourselves, why don't we step away from it? Change the thought process, and then the images will change, and we will have a different perspective about it. When we refocus our thoughts and attention, we're able to adjust. And then we can start shining light on the new image, which is how we actually get clarity in life, by changing how we see things. And just like the mirrors in the kaleidoscope, the mind's eye provides various images to us of every situation we've ever been exposed to. And the images we receive are always going to be influenced by our environment, our emotional state, and the people who are involved. Even the people still in your life. Their input, how they see it, it is going to affect us. So we need to be in control of this. I read this great article last night. I was working on this message until 11:30 last night. And I had this sense that there's a piece of this missing. And I read this article, of course. I just started searching and I found what I was looking for. And I loved the way this person said it. Unfortunately, I could not figure out who said it, or I'd be happy to give credit. Everywhere it just said contributing writer. It's like, who? Anyway, here's what it said. I loved it, and I've kind of summarized it. But it talked about how our subconscious mind is an unfiltered repository. It's very important to understand it's unfiltered. So every experience just gets stored without considering how big, little, or really, truly impactful it was. The subconscious mind takes in what it is exposed to without being able to differentiate between love or fear, right or wrong, good or bad. The article referred to the subconscious mind making observations in any situation, providing us with the Reader's Digest version of what actually took place. Unfiltered repository, and it feeds us back the mini version, which is not the full picture, on how to move forward based on all of our collective experiences. So it gives you the Reader's Digest version, not just on that scenario, but on all of our experiences. It says, well, you've been through this, 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 and this. So based on all of that, here's what you got. You're a fool. You should have never done it. And that person was, horrible. The narrative comes from a mini version of our big picture in life. So now that if we know that, then we have to be mindful to say, not true. That's not the whole story. I'm not what they say I am. I'm not what people are trying to talk to me about. I don't have to feel what people feel. What I want you to get is there's danger in this, of acting on what our subconscious mind tells us. It is simply not the whole story. We need to listen to the inner guidance, the voice within, not the head talk. and see the subconscious as nothing but a tool to help us process, but it is not the voice. The subconscious mind is not the voice. So all the junk you're telling yourself is not true. Seriously, not true. I'm here to tell you there's a whole lot more to you than what you're giving yourself credit for. Eric Butterworth reminds us that life is consciousness and that the problems we face are indicators, are you ready for this? That our wires are down and need to be repaired. Isn't that a wonderful image? Hey, why am I feeling that? Whoops, gotta do a little repair work. Wires down. He refers to this breakdown in our consciousness as an error condition and says that the only existence an error condition has is that which we give it in our own thoughts as we shine light on those mirrored images. He says, withdraw the thought and that situation fades into nothingness. Sounds pretty simple. Maybe we need to meet and talk about this, because it's not been simple so far. What matters to us is not people or things or conditions, but the thoughts and feelings we are harboring about those people and conditions. It's not the conduct of other people. It's our reaction to other people that makes or harms our life experiences. It's our reactions to how we've stored those images. It is our constant thinking about them that keeps them alive in our kaleidoscope within our consciousness. Developing a kaleidoscope consciousness can help us be greater instruments for good in understanding and impacting our world. Think about it like this. If each of us represented and we do, a colorful piece of glass in this gigantic universe, and each of us could get it right and hold the right image and shine the light on the best part in all of us, not just ourselves, then imagine how that collective influence would happen in the whole world and the impact we could really have. I hear people often say, well, unfortunately, what I do in this world isn't going to change the way the world thinks, but that's simply not real. If you did it, every one of us did it, we would send that message out. On Monday when we went to Hope, on Tuesday night when we showed up at Hope, 1,100 people were in that church. 1,100. And the whole point of them being there was to hold the consciousness for positive outcomes with the lawmakers that were being presented with the information and the requests. You could feel the energy as everyone either sat silent or applauded. But that consciousness influenced change. We can do the same in our own individual lives. Stop holding the images that are hurting you. It is our reaction, not those people. It is us who are victimizing ourselves, and we can change that. If each of us takes the time to grow our individual kaleidoscope consciousness, imagine the shift in the kaleidoscope of this amazing world. I want to end with a message from clergyman Henry Ward Beecher. And this was said back in the 1800s. Our days are a kaleidoscope. Every instant a change takes place in the contents. New harmonies, new contrasts, new combinations of every sort. Nothing ever happens twice alike. The most familiar people stand each moment in some new relation to each other, to their work, to surrounding objects. The most tranquil house with the most serene inhabitants living upon the utmost regularity of systems is yet exemplifying infinite diversities. Let's take a look at the lessons for today. Developing a kaleidoscope consciousness requires the following. 1, to become aware of the images we reflect upon and determine how they are impacting you. Number 2, to assign meaning according to desired reflections. Past stories only have power when we assign them. Number 3, to learn to create new patterns of thought by asking ourselves questions and reflecting. And number 4, to remember it's our reactions that cause harm. We need to be the illumined image of God's divine light. Our affirmation today, and it's also our song you're going to sing shortly, or they are, I am creating my highest good. Let's say it together. I am creating my highest good. Boy, that really wasn't very convincing. Can we do that again? Yes. I am creating my highest good. There you go. All right, quote from James Allen, the world is your kaleidoscope. The varying combinations of colors, which at every succeeding moment it presents to you, are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. Let's take that in for a moment. And so we pause for a moment just to reflect upon the gift of changing our consciousness by changing our thoughts and shining the light on the images we want in our life, not the images we no longer need. We recognize the power within to choose how we react, to change that message from victimization to empowerment, and to live our best life because we made that conscious choice. And so it is. Amen.